What is homomorphism, isomorphism? Okay. So suppose G and H be two groups. If I define a mapping phi from G to H, then this mapping is said to be homomorphism if for every element x, y in G, phi of x, y equals to phi x into phi y. Okay. So whenever phi is a bijective, when this phi becomes bijective, then we call this as isomorphism of G onto H. Okay. And whenever this is a injective, okay, means it is 1 1, then we say that phi is isomorphism of G into H. Then an homomorphism or an endomorphism of G that is both 1 1 and onto is called an automorphism of G. Okay, suppose if I define a homomorphism phi from G to G, okay, if this homomorphism is both 1 1 and onto, then we say that this phi becomes automorphism.
Here I am going to define kernel of homomorphism. So let's have a definition.
Let G and H be groups and phi from G to H be a homomorphism. Okay, so phi is homomorphism, they are given with respect to the groups G and H. Then the kernel of phi is defined to be the set denoted by kernel phi. Okay, so kernel of phi is the set. Which set it is? That is kernel of phi equals to x belongs to G such that phi of x equals to E dash. What is E dash? E dash is the identity element in H. So kernel of phi means what? It collects only those elements from groups which mapped on identity in H. At least how many elements kernel of phi contains? In earlier theorem, for any homomorphism phi from G to H, identity maps where identity in domain maps to E dash. Just we proved here. Okay? Look at here. Identity in this group G maps where E dash. E dash is what? Identity of this group. Okay. So that's why this E always belongs to where? Kernel. Okay. Identity element of domain, that is G, belongs to where? Always in kernel, because phi of E equals to E dash. Okay. So it follows that kernel phi is non-empty.
Now we are going to prove a theorem. A homomorphism phi from G to H is injective if and only if kernel of phi is trivial.
What we have to prove? If this phi is 1 1, then kernel of phi equals to E, and if kernel of phi equals to E, then we are going to prove this phi is 1 1. Okay, so let's prove. First we assume phi is injective, and then we are going to prove kernel of phi is identity. Okay, suppose phi is injective and let x belongs to kernel of phi. Okay, what is kernel of phi? So what is given? Phi is homomorphism and kernel of phi is equals to what? Those x belongs to G such that phi of x equals to E dash. Okay, so suppose if I take x belongs to kernel of phi, it means what? It implies phi of x equals to E dash. Okay, it implies phi of x equals to E dash. So as x belongs to kernel of phi, I have phi of x equals to E dash. But we just proved in earlier theorem, E dash mapped where? Sorry, E dash is what? E dash is nothing but image of E under this phi. So that's why E dash equals to phi of E. Okay. So this implies what? Phi of x equals to phi of E. Okay. When these are two equals, if and only if x equals to E. Okay. Hence x equals to E. Therefore, kernel of phi equals to E. Why I am saying kernel of phi equals to E? Because x equals to E, and x is what? X is a arbitrary member of the set kernel phi. Okay, so that's why if we take any element, so what we prove here, if I take any element x from kernel of phi, then this x equals to what? E, under what? Injective mapping phi from G to H. Okay, that's why I can conclude kernel of phi equals to E. Now we know that definition of kernel of phi. So conversely, let assume kernel of phi equals to E. What we are assuming? Kernel of phi equals to E. Now we have to prove that mapping phi from G to H is 1 1. So by the definition, while remember one thing throughout, so whenever we have to prove any mapping is 1 1, we just apply simply a definition of 1 1ness. Okay, so this is the way to prove 1 1ness. Okay, so here we are assuming phi x equal to phi y, whatever the mapping. Here we are taking two images phi x equals to phi y, and then we'll prove x equals to y. Their pre-images also equal. If images are equal, then their pre-images are also equal. This is the terminology to prove 1 1ness. Okay, so let's assume phi x equals to phi y. Okay, Now if I apply phi y inverse from right side, then what I have, phi x into phi y inverse is equals to phi y into phi y its inverse. Okay, but phi y into phi y inverse, this is equals to what, e dash. So what is our mapping, phi from G to H. Okay, what is phi y and what is phi x? This phi x and phi y are these are what, these are elements in codomain H,
Yeah.
because these are what, these are the images. Okay, so as phi y belongs to H and H is also group, so phi y inverse is inverse element of phi y. Okay, so both phi y and phi y inverse both belongs to where, H. Okay, so we know that if A is an element and B is its inverse, then AB is equal to what, E, where E is identity of respective group. So here phi y into phi y inverse is equal to what, identity of respective group. Respective group is what, H. Okay, and identity of H is what, E dash. That's why phi y into phi y inverse is equal to what, E dash. Okay, so what we prove here, this implies phi of x into phi y inverse is equals to E dash. Now phi y its inverse is equals to what, phi y inverse, by last theorem we proved. Okay, but since phi is the homomorphism, that's why phi of x into phi y inverse is equals to what, this is equals to phi of xy inverse. Getting this? So phi of xy inverse is equals to what, E dash. Okay, now look at here in the definition of kernel of phi, it collects only those elements in a group such that maps to E dash, means phi of x equals to E dash. So whenever phi of x is equals to E dash, we said x belongs to kernel. Okay, so here phi of xy inverse equals to E dash. This implies what, xy inverse should belongs to where, kernel of phi. Xy inverse belongs to where, kernel of phi. But what we are letting, we are letting kernel of phi equals to E, and here xy inverse is member of kernel of phi. Then this implies xy inverse must be E. This implies xy inverse must be E. Now if I apply y, if I apply y from left on both sides, so what happen, xy inverse y equals to E into y, E into y equals to y, x into y inverse y is equals to what, E. So x into E, x. So this implies overall x equals to y. So here we are taking two images, phi x equals to phi y, and we prove their pre-images are also equal. Okay, x equals to y. So by definition of one oneness, phi becomes 1 1. Okay, whenever f from G to H and G from H to K are two homomorphism, and if I take their composition G to G compose with F, then it is equals to what, G compose F is map from G to K. This also becomes homomorphism. Same result follow for isomorphism also, means f, if f from G to H is an isomorphism and G from H to K is a another isomorphism, then the composite map GF from G to K is also isomorphism. Okay, subgroups and cosets. If there is set, then it has subsets. Same thing, if there is group, then it has at least two subgroups. Okay, so let's see what is meant by subgroup. Let G be a group and H be a subset of G. H is what, subset of group G. Okay, then H is called a subgroup of G, written as H is subgroup of G if H forms a group under the same binary operation whatever used in G. So suppose G is any group, then any subset H of that set G is said to be a subgroup of G if it forms a group under the same binary operation. If that subset H of G forms a group itself under the same binary operation whatever used in G. Okay, suppose G plus is group, then H plus is group if H forms a group under the binary operation addition. Okay, for any group G, singleton set E and G itself are subgroup of G called trivial subgroups. Okay, that's why every group has at least two subgroups. Okay, next is what, a subgroup H of G is said to be a proper subgroups if H is non-singleton E and H is not equals to G. Okay, so it means whatever the subgroups other than this singleton E and G, they are called proper subgroups. Okay, okay. So look at this theorem. What it theorem says, suppose G be a group, a non-empty subset H of G is a subgroup of G if and only if either of the following holds. Okay, so any non-empty subset H of G is subgroup of G if and only if it holds one of the following. Okay, so for all A comma B belongs to H, AB belongs to H, and A inverse belongs to H. Okay, so if I pick up any two elements from H, then they are closed under, means H is closed under H. It means AB belongs to H and there exists its inverse. Okay, so if this holds, then we say that H is subgroup of G. Or if for every A belongs to G, H, then AB inverse should belong to H. If this hold, then can also we say H is a subgroup of G. Okay, so this theorem can be treated as OST. OST means what? One step subgroup test. Okay, so first we assume H is subgroups and prove these two conditions. Okay, and then we assume these two condition holds and prove H is a subgroup of G. Okay, so first, if H is subgroup, okay, suppose H is subgroup. H is subgroup means what? It means H is a group. H forms a group. Okay, and as H forms a group, then obviously by the definition of group, H is closed. Okay, H becomes closed and H possesses inverse for every of its elements. Okay, so that's why first condition obviously holds. Okay, similarly, suppose if I pick up any two elements, A, B belongs to H. Okay, so if B belongs to H, then B inverse obviously belongs to H. As H is a subgroup, then every element has a inverse. So if B belongs to H, then obviously B has inverse. So let it be B inverse belongs to H. Okay, so as H is a subgroup, that's why by definition of group, they are H becomes what? H is a closed. H is a closed. Now I have two elements from H. Which one? One is A belongs to H and second is B inverse belongs to H. So that's why AB inverse also belongs to H. Why? Because H is a subgroup. Suppose H satisfy first. What is first? For all A comma B belongs to H, AB belongs to H, and A inverse belongs to H. Hence, E equals to AA inverse should belongs to H. This proves H is non-empty. So this one proved. Okay. Look at here. What is the given? Highlight the word a non-empty subset H. So here, while checking whether any subset of G is a subgroup or not, first you have to show that that subset H is a non-empty. This is your first work. Okay, H is non-empty. So therefore H is a subgroup. Why H is a subgroup? Because here they satisfy all three conditions. Associativity also holds. As it is closure, then obviously associativity holds. Okay, and every element in that set has the inverse. This also proved with the help of this first condition. And what remains to show? Whether identity exists or not. So here I exist E. Okay, so by definition of group, H is a group, but H is subset of G. Okay, H is group, so H is subset of G. That's why we can say H is a subgroup of G. Okay, now suppose that H satisfies second condition, that is for all A comma B belongs to H, AB inverse belongs to H, then E is equals to BB inverse belongs to H. If I apply B inverse, okay, or if I apply, or directly one can say from this, B inverse is equals to EB inverse, or if I apply B inverse from left on both sides to this equation, so B inverse into E, that is B inverse, which is equals to B inverse B is equal to what? E, and this B inverse as it is. Okay, so B inverse is equals to EB inverse belongs to H. Okay, so what we proved here, B inverse belongs to H. Okay, so existence of inverse also proved. Now by condition 2, A B inverse its inverse, A B inverse its inverse is equals to what? Inverse of B inverse is what? B, which is equals to what? AB should belongs to H. So closureness also holds. So obviously associative law holds here. Okay. H is a subset of G. Thus from this we can conclude H is a subgroup of G. Okay, so this all things else, H becomes a subgroup of G.